So here we have the title track of the album, The Orphean Testament. So this is 6 minutes 30 seconds, definitely one of the longest songs on the album. I'm not actually sure if this is the longest on the album. But being the title track of the album, is there any real kind of significance to it? Usually when a band does a title track, usually it's more representational of the album or the best, something really, really big. You don't really name your album off a song that doesn't represent an album and is one of the weak ones. So, how is it? So, unlike the first two tracks off the album, which are the kind of more, traditional evergrey album, but obviously kind of improved in every area, and the previous two tracks that we mentioned, Ominous and Run From The Dark, which are definitely a lot more unique for evergrey, musically, just the way the concept built around it is and everything. The Orphean Testament goes back to being heavy, but has some more kind of alterations for it. So it's the typical kind of introduction for this song, with the typical kind of like heavy riff and everything. Not really key orientated this time, but we've had that in the previous song, so I do find it kind of okay to just have a heavy riff, just as long as the whole album isn't kind of layered with that, as the previous albums have been. When it comes to the verse, it is still keeping up that heaviness. It doesn't go into one of them dark, kind of somber, kind of atmospheric things. It keeps that heaviness going, but the keys are kind of there. So even though the guitar riff in that is really, really, really aggressive, really kind of going at it, as in the drums and everything, the keys do keep that kind of atmosphere and kind of light kind of melody to it, so it's not kind of like just drowned out by heaviness. It's just kind of something to just offset that a bit. You do want contrast, you don't just want everything to be one thing, so it's nice to kind of just have them contrasts. Tom's voice as well isn't being kind of like assertive, very aggressive and everything. He is still singing in this new kind of form, which I can't explain it. Like, I do know Tom says he sings differently through this album than he has previously, and it's just a lot cleaner. So even though it's not melodic and soft, it's just really, really, really clean. He's not got kind of any grit to him, so he does it quite well. Now the chorus is a nice kind of offshoot from what the introduction has been, as well as our first verse, which is just opening up the sound a little bit more, being slower. So just open it up, slow it down a bit and everything, because you don't want to just constantly be on that galloping track. You do want to take kind of a bit of a break so you can appreciate the onslaught later, because if everything's constant onslaught, then you just can't really kind of appreciate the power of it. So it's good to kind of just slow it down, so when it hits again you can kind of feel the impact. So I like the kind of chorus, got a great kind of melody to it. It reminds me a little of the track on the previous album, Eternal Nocturnal. Now I'm not saying they are very similar, it's just there is a certain kind of vibe that is kind of similar between the two. They're definitely not the same. I think it just might be kind of got a similar kind of melody to it, but everything else around it I do believe is kind of adjusted and different. It's got a similar melody to it, and maybe, I don't know if the tempo is a little off, but it definitely has a similar melody and aspects, which I always kind of find interesting, because I love the track Eternal Nocturnal. It was the best track off of the previous record by Bloody Far. So I do kind of enjoy that. Going back into our verse, again, we just kind of got that kind of heavy riff again. We go into our verse, pretty much the same thing, But there's a few kind of changes. Guitars will kind of change their tempo and everything, get even quicker, more aggressive, and then Tom, even before the chorus, his vocal style changes to being a lot more kind of aggressive and assertive, with a lot more bite. Then we get back into our chorus. After that, we don't really go immediately into the solo. We have a more of that kind of dark, kind of evergrey style after the second chorus, with vocals and everything. So it's slow, it's dark, and then there's some guitar interludes. Oh, that's something I missed. Coming off of the first chorus, there is another one of those guitar interlude things. I missed that. So they did that in Ominous, and they've done that again here, which I again really like. I like the fact that they put guitar interludes in there just to give you a little bit more, instead of just, you know, everything's just riff based. It's great to get guitar leads, because then you can make it a melody. You can make anything with a guitar lead. You can make it emotionally driven, sad, aggression, hyper, happy. You can do a lot with that. And then there's great melodies that come from guitar leads, and technical stuff as well. There's loads with that, so I enjoy when they do it. The solo for this one, you're looking at about 48 seconds, around there. So still relatively long compared to the previous album, where you didn't really barely get anything, besides Eternal Nocturne, which was an incredibly long solo. A good thing with this one is that the first solo you get, it's not Tom this time, but it's the keys doing a solo. So this is really great, because all we've had is guitar stuff. I don't know if Evergrey have ever done a key solo. I actually do not know. I can't remember. Like, I've listened to a lot of Evergrey, but I listen to a lot of other bands and albums. And then when I do that, I'm away from Evergrey for a while, so I do forget things. So I'm not sure if this is normal. I don't think it is. Maybe they have in the past, but I think it's not really a constant thing. So I just really appreciate it being there. It's really, like, slowly done, so it really takes its time, this solo. So instead of being rhythmic and quicker and everything, it just takes its time. It's very slow, it's very melodic, a lot of feels, so all these kind of key presses and everything, a lot of them really take their time, and just lets it kind of wash over you. Just key press, let that kind of sink in, the kind of sound of it. A little bit of runs here and there. It's definitely really emotionally driven and melodic. And then we get into our guitar solo. I believe this is probably Hendrik. I don't think it's Tom. Hendrik, obviously, because the key solo is really slow and takes its time, very melodic and everything. A good thing Hendrik would do is kind of offset that, so I just kind of bring in a bit more kind of power and everything, which he does. Again, it's not super technical, but it's definitely more of that than kind of being on the melodic side. So just a bit more kind of like aggression and everything to it. His solo is the shorter segment. The keys basically takes the forefront of the solo, and Hendrik just gets a little bit kind of at the end, just to give a bit more kind of aggression, a bit kind of like dark. I kind of got from him, like the emotion I was getting out of his solo was something a bit more kind of like dark, while the key solo was something just really depressing, like really kind of sad. It is not a happy solo. It just sounds really sad, really emotionally driven. And then the guitar solo just seems to be something just really kind of like an offshoot of that, but instead of like just being super sad and depressing, and emotional. This one just seems to be more kind of like something really dark, which could kind of like offset between the two, which is nice, working off each other. Then we get back into our chorus, and then the song ends on that guitar interlude again. Nice way to kind of end. So let's get into our next track. So with this track called Reawakening, we are looking at 4 minutes 15 seconds, so definitely on the shorter side of the album. But yet again, Evergrey are doing something different. Instead of it all just seeming quite similar and everything, being all that moodiness and everything, Reawakening is a lot more energetic than what we got. This has energy to it. It has some amazingly beautiful elements to it as well, and it gives the kind of feeling of hope as well. It's got some hope in there, some uplifting stuff, beauty, happiness. It's a fun song in times, and in other times it's just absolutely beautiful and just so relaxing and hopeful, uplifting. It's a very, very nice song. Now we've had our two first tracks, which are heavy. We've had Ominous, which is that very ominous kind of creepy kind of thing, quite proggy. Then on the previous track we've had something kind of heavy melody as well. So getting something more upbeat. I like the fact that through the course of the album we are getting a spectrum, if you will, of emotions and different kind of like styles and everything. I love that because it gives diversity. It's an album of diversity. That is a great thing to hear for an album, instead of it's an album of one thing throughout and it never changes, and that is an A+ for me. That just sounds weird. So with Reawakening, even though it's 4:15, the fact that it's uplifting and sweet, you want to keep it sweet. You don't want it to be overly incumbent. You want it to be easy and memorable, and a bit more kind of like catchy compared to some kind of song which is a lot bigger in scale. So Reawakening has this amazing start, which is usually the better intros I like from Evergrey, when it's incredibly key heavy. So that is basically the intro of this. It is insanely key heavy. It is super upbeat, bright and everything. The keys are just so upfront and loud. The whole band's there and everything. But it's bright, it's energetic, it's just so bright, full of energy. Some people could say it's a little kind of poppy and everything, but I don't care. It just sounds really great. I love the key stuff. Like one of my favourite songs from Evergrey, Passing Through. I really like that song. It was the first song that I saw with Evergrey, and that was the track that got me into them, because I heard that intro and I just thought it was fantastic. The rest of that song is absolutely phenomenal as well, but that intro was what kind of hooked me in, and then I kept listening. Sometimes I can just listen to an introduction before the vocalist gets in and I kind of know where it's going, so I just kind of jump out. So that hooked me. I really like the key stuff. So anyway, moving on, getting into our verse. I really like this verse as well, because it's now going to the beauty aspects, to more kind of relaxed nature. I like coming off of these. I love dynamics. I love having dynamics in music instead of it being just that one note stagnant thing. We got energy. It was super energetic. It's the most energetic thing we've had from Evergrey since Passing Through, basically, on The Storm Within. The Atlantic and Escape of the Phoenix has not had an intro with this like hitting energy, and the album hasn't. So we get this amazing energy, and then it offsets that with making it more relaxing. You just get the keys, the some strong bass and drums and Tom's vocals. No guitars again. So the cutout and everything, after having that much energy, it's nice to relax, to then come back into the energy. Because if they just maintain the energy throughout the song and everything, you get kind of like tuckered out and everything. So it's good to have the levels in there, and also to show dynamics. Tom's delivery for this verse, it is so well done. It is incredible. I think he's singing in a higher range than where he usually would lay. There is a lot of high notes which he does, really high, light, breathy notes that are scattered throughout this song. So it's just lighter, which then gives that kind of sense of hope and energy and fun, because it's heightened, it's higher, with them high angelic kind of notes and everything, the breathy elements to it, which is the offset of the heavy tracks where he's a lot more kind of assertive. So again, Tom doing the emotion, the music delivering the emotion. The entire album is an absolute spectrum and art of emotion storytelling. It is insane that this was recorded immediately after Escape of the Phoenix. It's like a whole new band. It is insane. The chorus, the guitars come in the verse as well, and they're great. Just bringing the energy back up again. Then when we get into the chorus, it opens up, and then the keys are a lot more prevalent, which then gives the funness to it. So before, when it was more the pre-chorus aspect with the guitars coming in, that's been a bit more kind of bombastic, kind of like energy and everything, while the chorus is going more for that uplifting, happy kind of energy and everything, with that reliant on the keys. Then we go back into our verse where we come back down again with the bass and the keys and the drums and Tom's voice with something just a bit more kind of relaxed and everything. Then we get the guitars, the pounding, the energy. Then we get the chorus, which is energetic but a lot more kind of uplifting now. Our solo, this is a short solo at just, 27 seconds, around there. It's not even half a minute, but it is only just one person this time, which makes sense for it being so short. So with it just being the one person, I would say that this is probably Hendrik doing the whole thing. But for 28 seconds, even though I obviously would like it longer, he grasps what this song is. Therefore, the solo, again, is something quite unique. So even though it's short, and it's kind of a shame because you really like the long ones and you get a lot on your plate in all the previous kind of tracks and everything, but this still is a unique signature kind of solo. So you still don't really want to miss it, and you still don't really consider this weak for that aspect. Because what the solo is it is the extension of the song, which is that kind of hopefulness, that beauty. So the way Hendrik does it, again, if it is Hendrik, because I'm not 100% sure, I believe it's him, it's that energy. It's mid-tempo, it's got really nice pace to it and everything. It's absolutely beautiful, it's not slow, it's just beautifully done, fun, hopeful. It's interesting for a metal band to be like this, because usually what it is it's aggressive, it's fast, or it's just really slow and melodic. But for going for a solo which is trying to achieve fun, usually that's rare in metal. The only other solo that comes to mind that does this is Sinister Gates on the track Lost. Is it Lost? God, I can't actually remember, and they're my favourite band. I haven't listened to them for so long. It's on the self-titled, and I think it's Lost. The end solo, that is going for fun, just incredible fun. And this is the same thing. Now, Sinister is a bit more technical based than what this is here. This is just trying to be mid-tempo fun. It's not trying to be overly complex. It shouldn't be, because that would take away from what this song is, which is everything is supposed to be easy, palatable, and just hope, fun. You listen to this solo, forget the rest of the song, just single out the solo, you haven't heard the song, you're just listening to the solo, you will take away from this a sense of hope and bright. Just fun, hope, bright. That is what the solo conveys, and it's what the song conveys. So even though it's short, it's still a beautifully delivered solo. And so is the song. The intro is absolutely phenomenal. The way they think out of high energy, let's strip it down again, very, very smart. It's beautiful. I like just getting the singled out bass, because I can hear what the bass is doing and everything, so I can appreciate him, the drums and the keys. Then the guitars will come in eventually just to give a whole different kind of vibe to it, something a bit more kind of powerful. Then the chorus with the keys and everything, and the whole band there. All the dynamics of hope and energy and fun. And also relaxing. And the solo, again, achieves all of this in just 28 seconds. It's quite remarkable. So a song like this, where should you really go next? So this track is called The Great Unwashed. It is 6 minutes 4 seconds long, so a bit longer now. And the way you offset the previous track of being the fun and energetic is to switch it back to heavy again. Now, the intro for The Great Unwashed kind of just starts immediately. There's no kind of build into it. Now, it's not what I exactly call heavy. It's not like massively riff orientated. It's definitely a heavy track, but they play more to kind of like an atmosphere for the intro to this. So even though the whole band's there, the guitar is doing a kind of lead to kind of set a vibe, basically. So one guitarist is doing the kind of like heavy riff and everything, and then you got the rest of the band there, you got the keys, but one of the guitarists is doing a lead kind of interlude through the opening of the song, which is kind of creepy, quite unsettling, to be honest. So pretty unique, and is identifiable, because it's not basically just, well, you know, it's guitar riff orientated, and this track is guitar riff orientated, and this song it's like guitar riff orientated. So it's like literally just all the exact bloody same carbon copy. So having the kind of guitar lead and everything, you know from the offset it is so identifiable that this song is The Great Unwashed. You can go through all the catalogue, you will know exactly what this song is from the get-go because of that intro. Now, getting into our verse, the keys are kind of playing before, then they disappear at the start of the verse, but then they come back again. It's a weird thing with the verses of this song, which is a lot of dynamics kind of keep shifting. So even though the verse is the verse, they just, certain members start adjusting, but the thing kind of stays the same. But one person will kind of go out the realm of it to just slightly alter it, and they do this in both, especially the second part. So even though the keys are gone, so it's more kind of like guitar orientated when we get into our verse, and Tom's singing with a bit of a certain enough in this. The way this kind of plays this verse, it reminds me of early metal. For some reason, there's just something about the rhythm of this verse which just really reminds me of early metal, not really modern. So I'm not entirely sure what it is, if just early metal just had a certain rhythm to it, I don't know. But it definitely does give me that feeling for some reason, I don't know why. Yeah, that goes, the keys kind of come in, you get them few kind of changes. The chorus, again, it kind of opens it up, has a bit of a melody to it. I definitely wouldn't really call it one of the better choruses. I've heard better on the album, But with the unique intro, it does make this quite unique. The verse, sounding kind of old school metal, has its own identifiable factor to it. The chorus is perfectly fine. I've just personally heard better. I wouldn't say this is one of the better ones. Getting into our second verse, there's all sorts of changes. Like the guitar at some point kind of shifts out of the pattern of what the verse is and then just does something a little different. Then Tom at some point goes quite aggressive in his vocal part later into his second verse. There's just this little segment where he puts a lot of kind of like grit and gnarliness into his voice. I don't know if even the keys change. There's all sorts of like little shifts and tweaks that goes through this second verse. So while something kind of shifts out and then does a weird segment, everything else is still the same verse. Then they'll go back and then someone else kind of comes out and everything. So you kind of keep going, it's the same verse, but literally every aspect, something is constantly shifting out, which is pretty kind of remarkable. Just the fact that it remains the same, but each member has their own time signatures of shifting in and out as they keep going. I don't know how complex that would be. It seems kind of complex to have all them like adjustments that goes on. So if it is, great. If it isn't, well, guess I'm wrong and it's not as complex as it seems. But even still, it's nice just to kind of keep adjusting things because it shouldn't always remain the same. Getting into the solos is the thing I really want to talk about. So as I said, we've had that creepy kind of guitar interlude at the start. It's a heavy old school metal kind of sound that the verse is. So at the minute it's been quite a creepy, atmospheric and dark, heavy song. So coming off of our second chorus, everything turns kind of down a notch. And we go a lot softer. Like all I think that's left is basically Tom's voice and maybe, I'm not sure what it actually is, I think it's keys. And that's all that's there, so everything kind of comes down, which then leads us into our solo, which I think is, again, a brilliant contrast because of what the song has all been prior. So to bring it all the way down, to then get this really beautifully delivered melodic solo in a song which is basically vibed like this, but then they bring the song down in this segment to make it something different, is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And this solo lasts a while. It's like 1 minute 15 seconds, I believe. Tom first, I believe, because it's the melodic part, and then Hendrik later. I think Tom's segment goes on for at least like 50 seconds, so he takes a big portion of it, and it is just all melodic. Like, just for so much of it, it's just so felt and melodic, and just so beautiful. Like when he holds notes, you bloody feel it. You really feel the expression he's really trying to get across and everything. And he just goes and goes. It's just all slow, melodic, really emotionally driving. And then towards the end, he brings a bit of technicality into it, but it's melodic. So he's really not really trying to just go over the top. It is absolutely grounded in melody, but it's just this like technical kind of run and everything, but it's a very warm tone he has. So when Hendrik eventually comes in, he's coming off of the way Tom ends, which obviously it's a very warm, thick kind of sound that's doing this kind of like technical melodic run and everything. So when Hendrik comes in, he kind of offshoots that He's a lot kind of like higher, his tone. It's not really warm, it's a lot more kind of assertive, his tone. Still got a melodic kind of bass to it, but he's obviously putting more kind of energy into it than what Tom does. So he's the kind of altered contrast of what Tom did, which is basically where he finishes. He takes that with a brighter tone and everything, being more kind of up-tempo, upbeat, and a bit more kind of technical, but maintaining that melody that has been presented to him through Tom and everything. And then that leads us back into our chorus and the end of the song. So a phenomenal solo, really well thought out. A unique song with all the different kind of segments and everything. That second verse with all the little kind of tweets that goes on. Not one of the better choruses, unfortunately, but still a brilliant song. So let's get into our next one. So here we have the track called Heartless at 5 minutes 9 seconds. So not really their longest, but not their shortest. So decent length in between for Evergrey on this album. So this is yet again a more kind of upbeat kind of song. Starting kind of like how Awakening kind of was. Quite similar to that. While Awakening's intro was very intense, like the keys were really going at it, full of energy and everything. This one's still, the intro's still key orientated and everything with the rest of the band and everything for the intro. We're not going for that very high energy kind of thing. It's just that mid-tempo everything, just not really going for heavy riffs or anything, not going for something super melodic or creepy or anything. Just this mid kind of key fronted intro. But when you get into the verse, it doesn't do what Awakening does, where everything kind of cuts out and it goes beautiful. The energy actually now kicks in. So it's a decent kind of contrast to how Awakening did it, which is the high energy then going soft, while this is mid-tempo intro. Then you get the energy for the verse, where the song really kicks it in. So I just really love the dynamics. It's just like every aspect of every song, the way the album's stitched together, it's just so well thought through. There's not a bad track on this album. It's incredible from what the album was before. And again, I don't hate the album before. I just find it kind of disappointing for what I know Evergrey is capable of. Like, you know, this. It's just kind of disappointing. Still solid album though. But yeah, getting into our verse here. It's got a very fast, kind of quick pace to it and everything. A lot of energy and everything. The guitar's very kind of heavy and everything. Not sure how strong the keys are, I kind of forgot. But getting into our chorus, there's a big kind of segment of just the guitars riffing away, being very kind of heavy and everything. So I've got a high energy and everything, getting into some really heavy guitar riffs and everything, hit into our chorus. Our chorus is very uplifting, very kind of light. Tom doing his very high, light kind of notes and everything, which he just keeps doing throughout this album, keeps nailing them super well. I don't know if this is one of his new things again. His voice is just dramatic improvements over the previous stuff. Maybe even his best vocal performance ever. I don't know. But amazing, absolutely fantastic. The rest of the song kind of does kind of follow in suit, really. Just really energy, fun kind of verse and everything, and then beautiful chorus. I like the way that the verse kind of works, because the melodies kind of Tom uses, because he doesn't just stick to kind of like one melody. He's a very emotionally driven kind of vocalist and everything. So the way he kind of sings and everything, he holds on certain notes, then he comes back and he's a bit quicker with some, then holds on others, then he'll raise some lines to a higher kind of note and everything, so massive range. But with this verse, it seems that the band actually kind of follows the rhythm of his voice. So as he kind of sings and then keeps changing the speeds of how he delivers and everything, the band changes. So as he's singing quite quick, the band's quick, but when he holds on to a note or something, the band kind of holds and then waits for him to kick in again. So they're going at the tempo of what Tom's voice is doing, which I found quite interesting. I kind of really liked that, because Tom's singing with a lot of emotion and melody and everything, so the fact that the band is literally mimicking him is just it's following the emotion of what Tom's delivering, his energy and everything, and his melody and everything. It's all following the same pattern. I think that's absolutely brilliant, and that's why the verse gets all that energy and fun to it, because of Tom's singing and working to that. Or vice versa, maybe the band put it down first and then Tom just followed, I don't know. And then I really like where it goes after this, which is it being keys and everything. Very Silent Skies, I think, influenced this section, because it is just keys and Tom's voice. It is really beautiful, simple. And then we get to our solo. The solo's, I believe, about, again, 48 seconds. So a reasonable length, split between the two again. I'm not actually sure who comes first this time, because they keep kind of changing their tones throughout each kind of song for solos. They do seem to kind of shift tone, style, and everything. But I actually prefer the second solo. Well, I've liked all the solos. I usually do prefer Tom when he really does deliver a beautiful solo. I just think when he really nails that, I don't think Hendrik can really touch him. But this first solo, I find to be relatively disappointing. Is going for that fast, quick pasting again. And I just don't... And while it's okay to have that fast, quick pace stuff, certain solos have had segments of that in them in these previous tracks. But this is just fully that, but doesn't seem to have a foundation on kind of melody. It seems quite lost, this solo, to me, for some reason. It's just... This first solo, it's being fast, kind of technical, kind of like more kind of in your face and everything. But it seems to lack any kind of like grounded kind of melody or something, or breaks away from it to get the melody and everything. It just kind of seems like it's just goes for something lacking any kind of emotion, or I just don't really get it. I don't get the purpose of the solo. While all the other solos is just like, this is the emotion, this is the point of it, this is what it means, and I can feel it, I get it. This solo is just like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be taking from this. Like, I'm not getting sad or regression or like anger. I don't get anything out of this. So I don't know who does it, because Tom is supposed to always be emotionally driven through literally everything. That's the way he does everything, is it's emotion first. He doesn't care about anything else. Just, this is the emotion, I'm going to get it across, and I don't care how I do it, just as long as the emotion's covered. So that's why I'm not sure who's who, because this first solo is just like, I'm not picking up on a damn thing. It just seems emotionless. Second solo, which follows in suit, actually seems to have a foundation. I still don't think it's one of the better solos still, but it has a melody groundwork to it. So it has a tone which seems to actually work. It's a nice tone. It keeps coming back to a certain kind of melody, even though it is a quicker kind of like solo and everything. So easily I prefer the second solo. First one, it's fine, because we've had, you know, the entirety of the album and everything. It's still a solo. It did something, so I can appreciate it for what it did. It's just I don't really connect with it, because the only way I can do that is if my emotions can come in. So all I'm taking from that first solo is literally just the technical aspect of it. Other than that, I'm emotionally just not connecting with it. Second one, I can, at least. So at least there's that. And then you can just appreciate just what the first solo did, I guess. It's a little unfortunate on that first solo. I don't really know what really happened there. Maybe it's just me. Maybe other people there can kind of get something from it. But for me, I just don't get it, really. But either way, I love the intro. I love the verse and the melody it takes. The chorus is one of the more beautiful choruses of the album. I adore the chorus. Therefore, I still think this is an absolutely unbelievable song. Solo doesn't really take away from that, really, because it's just so good. So let's move on to our next song. So this is the last single that evergrey released before the album dropped, called Blindfolded. So this song is 4 minutes 13 seconds. This was actually my favourite track off of the singles that they released. Mostly just because I really like how the chorus is done. I also like the intro, because the first two tracks, it's more kind of like that riff-orientated kind of thing. Again, as for I prefer that kind of like more key melody kind of driven stuff. And with Blindfolded, that's kind of what we get. The keys are prevalent again. I always like that. Or a guitar lead, at least. I just kind of like more melody in it, instead of just heavy guitar riff. I just find that quite boring. So this song, for the most part, is actually just really heavy. For evergrey, at least. So the intro, it's fast-paced, keys very, very, very strong with the heavy guitar riffs and everything. So I really, really, really like that, because it gives diversity with the kind of keys and everything. I just think it adds melody, the keys. I find keys, even though they're being quite fast and everything, and heavy along with what the rest of the band is doing, because keys have that kind of very high kind of tone to it. I just think it really offshoots and adds more melody than if it was just stripped and you just had the guitars underneath. Now the verse, again, is kind of just doing the kind of typical kind of like heavy kind of stuff and everything. It's when the chorus comes in where I actually find that the song gets relatively interesting, because the chorus is sung very differently to how all the others are done. Tom is singing very different. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, he's singing it very, very strained. I don't even know if strained's the best way to explain it. But definitely more aggressive. It's definitely not clean. It's definitely not light. And I do believe there's backing vocals going along with him and everything. And the best way I can just kind of try and explain trying to just sing like this is to literally just tighten your throat and everything, and just kind of strain through it. It sounds quite kind of like dark and aggressive, the kind of way he sings. And near the end of the chorus, you get like screams and everything, not by Tom. Tom sings, but then there's like backing kind of screams, more kind of yells, to be honest. So again, that yelling vocals quite unique, and then Tom doing that quite, and backing vocals where they're doing the like strain, more kind of aggressive kind of vocal delivery. All of it is just completely new for evergrey. Also through the chorus and everything, the keys kind of keep dipping in and out to where they become more kind of up front and everything. So then it just kind of adds a different kind of sound to what the chorus is. So I kind of like the keys kind of coming in and out in different segments through this song to just change the dynamic. The solo for this song is not one of the long ones. It's like just over half a minute, but actually has 3 solos. So it's kind of weird, the fact that this actually has the 2 guitarists and the keys going, but it's actually one of the short ones, which is weird. So obviously each person doesn't really have a big segment to them. The first one that plays is actually Hendrik. He's the first solo, and the worst. There's not really much to his solo. I even wouldn't really consider it a solo. It is, but he kind of comes in and everything, and then just kind of does a technical scale, and then he dips. It's basically him gone. So it's not really a lot or something really that interesting. Then it's Tom. Tom's interesting because, again, he is based on melody. It's not one of the slow, really melodic driven ones. This is a mid-tempo kind of melody and everything. Not really going for anything really technical. Slow, mid-tempo melody. Sounds nice and everything. Because it's not really that long, I can't really delve that much into it because I'm not getting a lot. It's nice for what it is, I'm just not getting a lot. And then I've got way more in other kind of solos where there's a massive stories like being told to me with loads of emotions coming out. So it's kind of too short to really kind of state anything, just the fact that it just sounds nice. And then it's the keys to finish it off and everything. And the keys is basically just doing the offshoot of what Tom does, which is basically mid-tempo kind of melodies, have a bit of an upbeatness into certain segments. Then we get back into our chorus and everything. So, yeah, Hendrik's the only one who kind of fell short, but I do like Tom and the keys. I like the keys at the back again. Because it just gives a whole different kind of solo, because the guitars can't really sound that like that. So I like hearing something different and everything. And then it shows the talent a lot more when they actually have their time to actually just do their thing and everything. Then they're just basically just playing along to like the rhythm of the song. So yeah, do really like this song. I think the chorus is super unique. Just because it's sung so differently for them and other bands, honestly. So I think it's a standout chorus. The intro, just with it being that really quick kind of up-tempo pace and everything, with the keys being really up front. I just love the sound of them and everything. Even the yells along with kind of Tom is relatively kind of interesting. So the only issue I have basically is just Hendrik's solo, which I kind of just thought was, well, honestly mindless. I didn't really see the point. So let's get into our final track now, Wildfires. So this track is only 3 minutes 40 seconds. It's the shortest track on the album, but technically I think it should be. Because Wildfires is basically just a palette cleaner. You've had such an incredible album through these 9 tracks and everything, with a roller coaster of emotions and different like styles and tempos and everything. Just so much just laid out. So Wildfires is basically just a clean song throughout, not really going drastic. It's just really calm, relaxing, clean, short song, which just basically unwinds. You got to the end of the album, it's been an absolute roller coaster, it's been absolutely phenomenal. It's this nice little palate cleanser just to unwind and leave you just feeling nice, calmed and relaxed, with just the great memories of just what you've been through for these 10 tracks. So, as I say, with Wildfires, it is being the palette cleanser, it's clean. So I was going to say that it's acoustic, but I'm actually not sure it is acoustic. I think it's basically just the guitars just going through a clean channel, because it's I think it's too metallic kind of sounding for acoustic. So I think it is actually still the electric guitars are just going through a really clean channel. I don't think there's actually any drums in this. Nor keys, maybe. I think all it is basically just clean guitar and perhaps bass. And yeah, I think that's it for the entire 3 minutes 40 seconds. Obviously Tom, singing. So this is relatively in line with Silent Skies again, which people don't know. Silent Skies is a side project of Tom, which is basically just all piano and bass with him singing. So there's been clean bass and then him singing to clean guitars and bass and everything. His voice, being on just piano track songs and everything, getting more accustomed to that, I think has really helped him out here, help kind of understand how to make a really beautiful song and everything. So the song has great melody to it. It has a lot of melody shifts and everything, with Tom's voice and everything. Not much to say, just it's a beautiful track. It's melodic. It's a quite positive sounding song as well, so it's not dark or anything. Tom's voice is brilliant. Nice little kind of melody changes instead of it all just being one little thing. The melody does kind of shift just to bring up the kind of excitement and everything. Towards the end of the song, there is actually, I believe, a solo, which is delivered by no one we've heard yet, which is a bass player. The bass player actually ends us out on a solo. It is relatively short. I didn't actually count it, unfortunately, but it's not overly long. But it is nice. Like, the song is meant to be simple, meant to be the palate cleanser and everything, so it kind of wouldn't be doing its purpose if the bass player just completely let rip. A bloody solo, it would be kind of out of left field at this point towards the end, because this is how we're finishing. We have to kind of unwind and everything. So his solo, even though being short, it's a beautiful bass solo, which is why I actually kind of feel ashamed that I didn't hear more. Because like for a bass, you don't really get a wide range of like tones compared to that of what a guitar can do. So with him, I just loved his tone. It was so warm, and the fact that he played it slow and melodically, he got a lot of expression out of it. It was relatively nice, short and really sweet, very nice and pleasant. So we've had basically a solo from literally everyone beside the drummer, I guess, unless I've missed something. So great showmanship, and that's how we end. This album is unbelievable. I wasn't sure, because Escape of the Phoenix I was pretty disappointed with. The Atlantic I kind of liked, but that was when I was just kind of getting into Evergrey, and then later I kind of like fell out with it. Then I really like The Storm Within. I really like Hymns of the Broken. I really like the Inner Circle. And then the albums kind of in between them is kind of like they're okay, and then Glorious Collisions I just really struggle to get through. But yeah, coming off of Escape of the Phoenix and just being the kind of year after, I really wasn't sure about this. So the fact that literally everything it's so drastic. The differences, the improvements, it is so insane. Because it's just so different. Like, literally, they did Escape of the Phoenix, sat down and said, let's just keep going, and then they just wrote this and then just got this out. Yeah, it's so much more melodically based. The guitars sound so much better. The solos are far bloody improved because they actually give time to it. The guitar interludes, there's melodies, the keys are so prevalent. There's a whole range of emotion and heavy, melodic, fun, dark, depressing. It's so full, this album. It is insane. Tom's vocals are unbelievable. But this is kind of making my point clear when I came off of doing the review of Escape of the Phoenix. You need longer solos. You need more melody in the solos. The keys need to be more present. Just heavy guitar riffs all the time is really boring and stale. This album kind of just answers literally all the issues I had, and was just like, well, right, we've heard Zach, and we are literally just going to make him eat his words, and then they released this, and it's like, well, yeah, I can't really say much now. It has a few issues, yes. As I say, some of Hendrix's solos are a bit of a miss. But overall, I'd rate this a 9 out of 10, and it's the best Evergrey album I've heard. This is their best. So, thanks for staying with me, and I'll see you in the next one.